Okay, so I wanted to just I'm going to try to make this very quick. I'm going to be practicing working on making quick videos because the other ones that I make about the cult need to be quick. I have not even been uploading all the videos I've been making. Anyway, this is why. Because I get sidetracked with little doodads. Quick thing I wanted to say about the creep in the Jeep guy. I'm working on stuff I wanted to say to the cops that had to do with that issue, but also the cops that had, like the local cops I've had to deal with recently in general, most of them. I'm writing that out now. I've written some of what I'm going to say, a good portion of what I'm going to say out in the descriptions of the videos that I've already posted, but there's going to be some added stuff. So that's going to be a video coming up soon. Something I wanted to add about the creep in the Jeep guy. So one night when I first, it was like the second night I was parked up there. It wasn't the very first night. I think it was the second night. And he and I were like still on good terms. He was trying to impress me. And I thought he had like gone to sleep for the night. And it was pretty late. And people had mostly been gone for the night. It was mostly an empty area. And then a car of kids showed up and hung out there for a little while. And I wasn't paying 100% attention to them. I was busy with my own stuff. But, you know, I could hear them a bit. I could see a little bit of flashing lights. There's just like, you know, iPhones and stuff. And I knew what they were doing. They're kids. There's one reason why kids go out there. And I was so earlier in the day I'd been fishing down by the canal, and I'd left my rod down there, just kind of sitting in the rocks, with the line out. So I was gonna go down and pull the line in and see if I'd caught anything. I'd been fishing kind of like all the way up to that point, and I decided I even was like letting myself do some night fishing and going down once in a while and checking to see if I'd caught anything. Which I was, but it was letting go. Anyway. So this was the last time I was going down. The kids had been around there for a little while, and they weren't too noisy. They were being a bit noisy, but like not any more than the typical kids. And I thought he was asleep in his Jeep already. I hadn't seen or heard him for a bit. And I was going down there's a little kind of path going down to the beach there. I was going down to pull my line in for the last time, and bring the rod up. And I think this was like either the kids were still there and it looked like they were just like getting ready to go, or they had just left. Because I remember thinking like, okay, there's like, things are settling down. And thinking things are quiet now. And I remember kind of having a sense of like, okay, I'm alone again. I'm starting to be alone again, like out here. So like I don't have to deal with anybody. Cause already that dude was giving me the creeps. I was just like, okay, so I'm going to try to interact with him kind of as little as possible. And cause we're going to be down here, both going to be down here until I can figure out a different situation. He's clearly going to be down here until he dies. He says he wants to retire here, so. And he surprised me because I was going down, just starting off to go down to that little, the little path down to the beach, and he was right there off to the side of the path, like looking out over the canal and sort of in a shadow, so it was hard to see him at first. So I was like right next to him. I was like, oh, geez. I was like, what are you doing right here? I didn't even see you come over here or anything at all. Because I was like running around, like cleaning. I was preparing some food in the kitchen and stuff and doing all kinds of stuff. He's sitting there looking like a bad actor. Looking like kind of like pissed and forlorn out at the water. He's like, yeah, I'm just sitting here thinking about how I feel disrespected. I was like, what do you mean disrespected? Who? How? because I was hoping like he wasn't going to say I disrespected in some way, and now there's going to be an issue. Like, because again, I'm already of a mind of like I want as little contact with this dude as possible. He just startled me kind of into a conversation with him. So it's just like, why do you feel disrespected? Who disrespected you? And he's like, yeah, you know those kids. They're just out here making all that noise and shining all the lights. And so I was like, oh, well, yeah. This has always been an area where the kids on the island, the local kids on the island, and just on the other side of the canal there on the mainland, this has always been an area where they come and get together and have like little parties that last maybe like an hour, if that. They'll throw back a couple hard ciders or something and smoke a joint, okay? And they'll listen to some music, not even that loud. He was listening to music. That's another point I wanted to make real quick. The way loudly as he was listening to his music was, I don't know, 5 to 10 times louder than any kid down there I've heard listening to their music. They'll park up, they'll listen to music in their vehicles, and they will keep it to a reasonable level. Which is not what he was doing. So the dude who looks like he's about my age, probably in his mid-30s, is less mature than the teenagers that go out there and park up and have little parties together. So, and less considerate. So anyway, there we go. Got sidetracked with yeah, that's right. So he was like looking like he was putting on a bad act out at the canal, and I was just like, he said he was disrespected, felt disrespected, and I asked him why he felt disrespected, who disrespected him, and he's like, oh, those kids, they know better than to come down here this time of night and well, like make all that noise. I don't mind if they come down here, but they shouldn't have been so low. They were disrespecting me. Like, he wasn't saying they know better as in, like, it's illegal for them to, it is, like, you're not supposed to be down there, I guess, after 9 p.m., which I didn't even realize was the case until Steve and then the cops I talked to recently said that to me. But I didn't know that. I'm pretty sure most locals probably don't even know that you're not supposed to be down there after 9 p.m. Probably why all the locals go down there after 9 p.m. Probably every single person who's grown up on this island and currently lives on this island has at some point gone down to that spot after 9 p.m. Even just to like park up and clear their minds for a few minutes. So, he wasn't saying it in like a legal sense. He was saying it like he owned the area. Like he was the boss of the freaking area. And he went and expounded on it, because I asked him to, like, explain. I was like, yeah, but they come out, like, this is that spot. This is one of those spots on the island, one of the few spots on the island where, kids can come out and just meet up for a little while and cut loose, listen to some music. They weren't even listening to the music that loudly. Like, I barely noticed them. I was, busy doing stuff. They were hardly any more distracting than, there had been kids that were, like, way more distracting parking up there before, in the past, so I was just like, I didn't really notice it. And he was like, well, they know better. They know I'm down here. They know not to come down here after a certain time and make so much noise and just keep me awake and stuff like that. I think that's interesting that he said that when he decided that he was going to blast music well into the night to try and keep me awake, and then drive down there first thing in the morning at sunrise and start blasting music right next to my RV to wake me up. I think that's interesting. Don't you think that's interesting? I think it's interesting that he was complaining only a couple days earlier about local teenage kids, showing up at the spot where local teenage kids have always gone to play a bit of music and hang out. And I never complained about those kids playing music. Like, I complained to him to turn his music down or off because, again, he was listening to it obnoxiously loud. Those kids actually, like, again, all the teenagers that showed up there played music, almost all of them, but they played it at reasonable levels, where it's, like, muffled in their vehicle. He had all his windows down and literally would leave his doors open. He sits a lot of times, like, hanging one foot out with one door open to his Jeep and hanging one leg out. And just like relaxing, chilling there, and just smoking a joint, and just like watching random YouTube videos on his phone. So he really does think that he owns it down there, that he's like the king of the canal at the end of Bayshore Road. And he craps all over back in the woods right there. I mean, all within just 1 to 2 yards of the beginning of the nature trail there, because there's a nature trail that goes back through those woods, goes all the way back to Higbee's Beach. When you're first walking into the nature trail there, if you pay attention, and unfortunately a lot of people probably wouldn't be paying attention, there's human feces all over. I found some of it. I wish I hadn't. I made the mistake of picking up what looked like, oh, this really cool, like, piece of, and not all of it's covered either, but this one big piece of bark. And under it was just, I mean, like, it was one of the main poop spots. And it is literally not even a foot away from the nature trail. He didn't even bother to go like a few feet off the nature trail. He literally is just walking a few feet back onto the nature trail and not even walking a foot off. He's just turning around on the nature trail, squatting and pooping. I didn't see him do it. I've seen him walk back into the woods and start taking his pants off as he's walking back in there, and coming out of the woods and like pulling his pants up as he's coming out. And I've seen the human piles of crap out there. He accused me at one point of video recording him taking a dump out there. I was like, what the fuck is wrong with you? Like, who the fuck wants to record you taking a dump out in the woods? Like, I don't even have, if I wanted it as evidence of something that you're like going to the bathroom in the woods, I don't even have to do that. I could just have recorded you like walking into the woods as you're starting to take your pants off, or walking out of the woods as you're starting to pull your pants up, or just like and finishing pulling your pants up, and then literally just a few minutes late, and keep the, I could have just done it, yeah, as he's coming out of the woods pulling his pants up, because he does it so often. I'm sorry, like, you can only be parked a few feet away from a dude who's like living in his Jeep right there, and not like see it out of the corner of your eye once in a while, like, oh, I'm taking a dump out in the woods, or just took a dump out in the woods. Jeez Louise. All I had to do was like just record you, sit in my RV, record you coming out of the woods and pulling your pants up as you're doing it, and keep the video recording going, and just walk out of the RV, walk back on the nature path, and look for the pile of your crap that's I know is back there, and go, look, see, he's just using this whole area as his personal toilet, when he could be parking up his Jeep in lots of places that have public bathrooms. So he doesn't have to be going to the bathroom like literally within a foot of the nature trail that lots of people go out there. They take their dogs. We all know how dogs like to eat poo. And human poo. Yum, 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 yum. They love it. Hey, local May people living on the island. Those of you who like to go down the end of Bayshore Road, where it dead ends in the canal, and you like to take your dogs. Would you like your dog to eat human feces? The human feces of Steve, the Jeep in the creek, because he's leaving presents for them out there right at the beginning of the nature trail. He's leaving treats. Ew. Oh my gosh, dudes. I kid you not, one of the times I went back there, I just hadn't even put together yet. I kind of knew that he went back there and pooed at that point. But I still hadn't factored into my immediate experience of I was decided, like, I haven't been back on the nature trail for a while, let's go for a little stroll. And I saw a giant piece of bark. I picked it up and it was... Oh my god, it was huge. No, it was like cow plops, but like, because like it was just this whole spot, you could tell it was like a regular poop spot for him, and that's not the only spot. Why is he allowed to live down there in Jeep and crap in the woods, and I can't have my RV parked up there? in time of emergency in my life. He's not an emergency. He's decided to retire down there. He's had months and months to fix his situation, and he's chosen not to. Okay? I just got bounced down there a few days ago. How come he can live down there in his Jeep and take dumps out in the woods, like literally right next to the nature trail, and risk people stepping in it and their dogs eating it and their kids maybe finding it and playing with people? Take their kids down there. Families go back. I've literally seen parents taking their kids back on that nature trail, and they're walking their small children, cute little girls, next to his giant pile of crap. I mean, they are walking by like within inches of it. And they don't even, because like, and sometimes it's not even completely covered. They just don't, like, because they're just starting off down, like, they're not noticing it. It's gross. That dude is sullying that whole place, and he makes it a mess. Like, he just, like, I've seen him just, like, let blunt wrappers blow away in the wind. I'm down there cleaning up other people's trash. I strapped on gloves, okay, and went and picked up used condoms, empty little whiskey bottles, empty, not even so empty beer bottles that had the yellow liquid. I wasn't sure if it was beer or pee, so those needed the gloves. Like plastic wrappers, you name it, blunt wrappers, you name it. All the kinds of other people's trash. And I realized this, I wanted to say this. He is the one that called and lied and said that I was dumping trash down there. He flat out denied it in front of Brian because I accused him of it that night that I called the cops. Like, he said I embarrassed him in front of Brian, the two teenage boys. And he said he was calling the cops. And I was like, yeah, no, I'm going to call the cops because you're blasting your music for hours. And so that night, like, as like during the whole like argument where I'm asking him, like, come on, dude, I've been asking you for hours. I turn the music off or turn it down. During the back and forth, I accused him of, like, and I'm pretty sure, because I was like, we don't need cops called out here. Cops were already called out here earlier today, and they were saying that somebody reported that there was trash being dumped down here. When I've been, like, picking up trash all day, that's interesting. And they happen to not be, they happen to come down when you suddenly weren't here, and you're typically here, like, all day. That's interesting. I'm pretty sure you, like, reported a lie to the cops that I was dumping trash down there. Dude, it's like, flat out accused him of it in front of the two teenagers, and he flat out denied it. And yet, the next day, when I called the police about him parking up next to the RV and playing taps right next, well, it was either the next day or the day after. The day that I called the police and reported him about parking up right next to the RV and playing the taps, when he'd done the same thing with the heavy metal music the day before, and this is harassment with music at, like, sunrise. He knows I'm in my RV sleeping. He knows. And he's parking right next to my RV at sunrise and playing loud music, obnoxiously loud music, in a residential area, again, down the end of a residential street. So there's a house literally being built right there, like right next to where we were parked. It's not totally built yet, and there's a bunch of houses down that street. You could hear it at least halfway down the street. I was like clocking, walking down the street, like, how far down can I go before this stops being obnoxious? I had to go pretty far down. I had to go past a few houses. Just gonna say that. Where was I? Right, so he's the one who accused me of dumping trash. Because he left, of course. I was like, I'm calling the cops. I called the cops. They're already on their way when he was playing the taps. Recorded him a bit, and then, like, threw on some more clothes and went outside. And he's like, I called the cops. They're already on their way. And he's like, that's okay. I'm going to go get coffee. I just showed up to wake you up. And then took off, and I expect went to get coffee. And then, but he happened to come back when the cops were still there. And one of the cops already recognized him. Was like, that's the guy right there, coming down. So they went over and talked to him, and I could hear them kind of, like, yelling at him. Just went back into my RV and was seeing to, like, getting my cats breakfast and stuff. And I could hear him at one point outside going, "She's dumping trash down here." I was like, "Yeah, you bastard, you fucking lied. You called in a false report." Because he was saying like she's dumping her kitty litter. No, he was there for that. That was when I first parked up there. When I was being kicked out of the dunes, I was flustered, like trying to get everything together and strapped down and stuff, trying to get my RV out of there before they towed it, because they were threatening to tow it. So I threw a bag of trash that I had, and it had some kitty litter in it, in the back of, like, I've got like a hitch metal wagon sort of thing hitched to the back of my RV with like my kayak and stuff in it. So, and it creates like a space, a wedge space sort of between the RV and that rack with all the stuff in it. So I put it back there, like wedged it back there. Just to like get on the road and get everything out. So when I parked up down at the canal, that spot, I was getting everything out and together, like off the rack and everything, and trying to get the trash bag off it, and it got caught. Some of it, like the bottom part of it got caught like on the bottom of the rack, and some of it tore open, and like some of the kitty litter came out. So I'm like rushing. He was there, saw the whole thing. I was rushing, trying to get it all together, scrambling and get it out of there and into a trash can as quick as possible. And then went in the RV, got a broom, came out, swept as much of it up as I could. And then also after that, put on gloves, and cleaned up other people's trash too. So I was not maliciously or intentionally like dumping kitty litter trash all over the street. The bottom of one of my trash bags accidentally tore open, and I scrambled as quickly as I could to fix it. And cleaned it up, and cleaned up other people's trash. So he's a malicious liar. He's, again, I've had too much experience with these kinds of people. He lied sort of by telling the truth. He said I was dumping trash. I don't know how accurate that, like, I don't know if you could consider that the truth. It might be too inaccurate to consider to be the truth. Because that's not real. I don't know if it's a dump. Dumping trash. Like, it's not a dump to have something tear open or accidentally. It's whatever. I'm sorry. I'm taking more time on this video speculating about something so stupid. It's ridiculous that there's so many creatures walking around acting like children that people think are adults. And it seems that the police are supporting this behavior. I've observed it. They're supporting this behavior. They rewarded him for acting like a child by allowing him to stay there and kicking me out of there because that was his goal. So they rewarded him for harassing me. They're rewarding him for squatting and crapping all over the nature trail and leaving human feces within literally a few inches of small children to like wander through and stuff. They're rewarding him for negatively influencing a bunch of teenagers and talking to them like the world's just crap and shit, like, and acting like he's a freaking cult leader down there. They're rewarding him for acting like he owns the place. It's just ridiculous. They're rewarding him for harassing a local. He's not a local. You know what a local is? I grew up with any spare scrap of change, coins I could find laying around the street or whatever. I would immediately walk and or ride my bike, depending on where we were living on the island at the time. I would immediately walk and or ride my bike down to the West Side Market and buy as many freaking gummy worms and treats as I could buy. And I didn't see his ass around the West Side freaking Market. That's how you knew, you grew up on this island. That's how you know Cape May's your hometown island, okay? That's one of the ways you know. I didn't see him around. He said he's been down there like 20 years by the canal. I was 17 20 years ago. I was certainly hanging out down there when I was 17. Even though I was going away to private boarding school, I still came home plenty. My family was down here. And I was able to drive at that point. I would still go out of my way to drive, even at times when I wasn't like living on the island, or like maybe I was living mainland side in North Cape May with my grandmother or something. I would still go out of my way to drive to the island. That was one of the spots. I didn't see you down there 20 years ago, dude. I was there. Where were you? You're full of you're full of shit. You're a fraud. You're a liar. Where are you from? You're not from here. I haven't seen you around, except for the first time I've seen you around was roughly 4 months ago when I first got back on the island, parked up my RV down there, getting back from the West Coast. Who are you? Why did you just suddenly show up on my hometown island in a spot that I've been going to most of my life, and start thinking that you own this place, this area, and that you get to tell people what to do and bully people out of the area? And how is it that the cops are helping you do this? What's going on between you and the cops, the local cops, Lower Township police, I guess? That area counts as Lower Township. The island's sort of split up into about 3 townships at least. Cape May, West Cape May, Lower Township, and then the Cape May Point might be one. I don't know. It's weird because it's a small island. You can bike across in about 15 to 20 minutes. It's a small island. So I just find it very, very interesting and concerning that this guy has managed to hunker down and squat there for months, and the cops haven't been able to do anything about it. They're that incompetent. But they seem perfectly competent in getting me out of there in a couple days. So, and based on my conversations with him, he seems to be somewhat affiliated. I'm not saying he's a member. Seems like he has at least some kind of dealings or experience with members of the local Freemasons, possibly. I don't know if it's like the Elks or Moose Club, something like that. I think it's the Elks Club. There's a cardinal at my window. It's freaking out because it thinks it sees another cardinal in the reflection. It's just too crazy. Yeah, no, chill out, dude. It's cool. It's all cool. No, there's no danger here. Go, no, move on. He is really flipping out. I'm worried he's gonna break his beak against the window, and I'm wasting time. I'm sorry. If you can hear him, he's flipping out. He thinks he's got to defend his territory against a freaking reflection. Anyway. There you go. Here's life telling me that dude's probably some kind of a reflection of me. And I'm actively have to defend my territory against him. I'm not trying to defend my territory. I'm just wondering why I'm being treated differently from him. I'm wondering why the police are doing that. I'm wondering why the police are favoring him. A curiosity. My nickname's Cat. And if you're like, well, it killed the cat, that's why we have 9 lives. That's what I would like to say. So, I'm just very, very curious. I don't like corruption. I really don't. I don't like narcissistic little boys who pretend to be men. I don't like them having bad influences on children. I don't like them bullying people, bullying women. He really hates his mother. I sussed that out at one point. When he's playing his music so loud, one of the days, he'd been playing it for hours and hours, and I'd been listening to my headphones, and I just got kind of fed up. So one thing I did was I started singing aloud along with the music, but I changed the lyrics to kind of be belittling of the music and the kinds of people who listen to it. So it was just basically like, he was listening to like the heavy metal headbanger music and stuff like that. And so I'd be like, I would sing out loud along with the music, like, I have no dick, wish I had a penis, wish I were a man, I'm a little boy. Like, if you're gonna be an annoying cuck, like, I can do the same thing. Jerk. So at one point, during all that, some of the lyrics I sang out was, gonna play my music real loud to piss my mommy off, I hate you, mommy. That, like, the whole time he was listening to it, he could hear me doing it, and it didn't seem, he just kind of was like, whatever. That part when I was like, gonna play my music real loud cause I'm mad at my mommy. I hate you, mommy. That struck a nerve. That made me go, fuck you, bitch. I'm gonna get you kicked out of here, blah, 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 blah. And I didn't think he would be able to. Shockingly, he was. Because I was like, dude, that dude is way more of a crazy creep that just makes this place a dump and a toilet, and I'm actually trying to keep it clean and be respectful and thoughtful. So I didn't think, and I'd heard already, like, from a few people, like, that he'd already been a problem to people in the area. So I'm thinking, I'm pretty sure he's going to get kicked out of here first. Like, if he wants to turn this into a war, but it's ridiculous. No. So I'm very curious about this guy's connection with the police. He seems to have some connection with them beyond just like he's some pain in the butt they can't get rid of down at the canal. I don't believe that. They absolutely have the manpower, the resources, the intelligence, collectively at least. They must have the intelligence to get rid of a narcissist living in a Jeep down at a canal. They do. They're choosing not to. There's a reason for it, and now I'm curious. So let's look. We're gonna look into it. I found out the name of the NBA player whose father was harassing me in the dunes. I have to do some tagging for some of these videos because I definitely want to get my autobiography out there in front of eyes and ears. So I know how to advertise. Lots of people can learn from what I've experienced. So if you had the misfortune of, well, I don't think it's misfortune. I think it's just your own freaking fault. If you treated me like trash, can maybe, I don't know, I'm not promising I'm going to give you a shout out, but you can maybe expect to be discussed in my autobiography series. So, all right, I'm going to end this video. I'm going to stop prattling. Yeah, we're 30 minutes. I was going to go like, I bet I could do this like a 15-minute video. Stop. It's because of this. It's because of this thing. All right, I'm done. Is it even a female? Because I see a male. It's a female doing the male's work. That's amazing. It's not amazing. I mean, like, she's that freaking happens all the time. Yeah, the male's up there just watching her. You know what? I'm not